So let me start by introducing myself. My name is Nur Amira Afrina. You may call me Ames, and I will be moderating tonight's debate showcase. So before we start, I would like the debaters from the government team and the opposition team to introduce themselves. So we will start by the government team, followed by the opposition team. I would like you to state your name and your position. Airil, you may start.
Thank you very much, moderator. My name is Muhammad Airil Aiman, and I'm the Prime Minister of the government.
Hi everyone, my name is Bella and I'm the Deputy Prime Minister from the government team.
Hello everyone, my name is Aiman and I am the government whip or the third speaker of government team.
Hello everyone, my name is Shahmi Adli and I am the first speaker of the opposition team.
Hi everyone, I'm Noreen Kamila and I'm the Deputy Leader of Opposition.
Hello everyone, my name is Shara and I'm the opposition whip.
Okay, so thank you everyone. I hope the audience are able to tell and recognize which debaters come from which team and which position. So moving on, I will briefly explain the rules so both debaters and the audience can take note. So first of all, for rules and regulations, we are doing AP style Asian parliamentary, where we got two teams with each team consists of 3 members. Each debaters were allocated 7 minutes time limit, maximum 7 minutes and 30 seconds. If you exceed more than 7 minutes and 30 seconds, team can raise your POIs from the first minute to the 5th minute the debaters that is receiving the POI speak. If you want to raise your POIs as well, you have to unmute your mic. Do not raise your hand because we are afraid that debaters receiving it will not be able to see that you are raising your hand. So please unmute your mic. Then the debaters are required to turn on your camera while you are speaking. If you want to turn off your camera, it will be before and after you present your arguments. And then the debaters have to follow the appointed order, meaning that we will go from the order of ranking, meaning we will go by the Prime Minister, followed by the leader of the opposition team, followed by the Deputy of Prime Minister, and so forth. And then the debaters are required to not do any disturbing signs meant to provoke the opposing teams, stuff like this. Please do not do that. We keep it civil. And then lastly, debaters are not allowed to raise sensitive issues such as races, religions, and also curses. I think that is all for rules and regulations for debaters. And for audience, in the Google Meet, you can turn on your camera if you want, but you are not allowed to turn on your mic so as to not disturb the debaters, and you are also not allowed to chat in the chat box. So I think that's all for rules and regulation. So I want to ask the debaters, are you ready for one last time?
Hi debaters, I will be your timekeeper. So I'll be sharing my screen of the time. All right.
Thank you, Kira. So I will call upon every single one of you before you start, and after I say here, Kira will automatically start the timer. So you have to speak by then. Okay, so if there is no problem and everyone is clear, I will now present the motion. The motion that we are doing for tonight's debate showcase is the House prefers a world without social validations as a motivating factor for people's decision making. I now call upon the Prime Minister of the government team, here.
A wise philosopher once said that if you live for people's validation, then you will die from their rejection. First and foremost, I would like to point out that as the government, we wholeheartedly prefer a world without social validation as a motivating factor for people's decision making. And as the Prime Minister, I will be defining the motion of social validation, provide some argument as to why the world without social validation is better, and the trade-off as to a better substitute for a better motivating factor for decision making. The Deputy Prime Minister will expand my point on the substitute for a better motivating factor, while also providing her own argument as to why the opposition world is destructive, while also rebutting the leader of the opposition. The government will provide a structured analysis of the argument for both sides, while also rebutting the leader and deputy leader of the opposition. So let's start with the definition. Social validation can be defined as a psychological phenomenon where one or more passive individual follow or conform to the action of others within a group or community in order to feel accepted, in order to feel their approval. For example, a student who doesn't like vaping or smoking cigarette may decide to do it anyway in order to be seen as cool by his classmate. As we can see, this happened in a lot of countries, including Malaysia. The high school graduate with mono eyelid may spend their hard-earned money on plastic surgery instead of their education or other necessity in order to fit into society's unreachable beauty standard, as we can see in a lot of countries like South Korea. A person that wants to be an artist may be forced into becoming an engineer instead due to social pressure. And these are only three random examples. There are countless other dangerous, radical, and self-harming decisions made by people motivated by the desire to be socially validated. This culture is so toxic that even a blind person could see how toxic this is. So first of all, obviously as a human being, we all feel the need to be liked. And we may have security about part of ourselves that we feel like other people may not like. For example, some of you may have big nose, some of you may have small eyes, some of you may have small, I'd rather not say, but the point is that we cannot allow the insecurity to affect our decision making. We must not make... Yes, continue please.
Do you believe that social validation can be something that is seen as good?
I believe yes. I believe it can be, but a lot of things can be good. But that doesn't mean it should be the main motivating factor for our decision making, because it can also be used for evil, and in most cases the bad decision outweigh the good decision. But the point is that we cannot allow the insecurity to affect our decision making. We must not make, and I will point out the bad decision later on. We must not make the point. We must not make decision out of desire to be liked. We must not make decision out of desire to be approved, out of desire to be accepted, out of desire to be validated. Because making decision motivated by the desire to be accepted is in a way another form of psychological slavery. This is a bad habit from the start, because when you seek this validation, it's a reflection of low self-esteem. This essentially means that you don't trust your own judgment and therefore look for other people to resolve this internal conflict of yours. But guess what? Looking to other people for purpose of validation won't achieve anything in value, because you won't achieve anything of value in long term or short term, because it means that you're living in a state of uncertainty where your entire existence is largely oriented around trying to impress other people and seeking their approval. This is not a healthy way of life, and this is evident that making decisions motivated by social validation is not only damaging to physically but also psychologically to oneself. Now, if we stop using social validation as a motivating factor for decision making, what would be the better trade-off? Well, on our side of the government, we believe that personal enjoyment would be a better trade-off compared to social validation as a motivating factor for decision making. Steve Jobs once said that the only way to do great work is to enjoy what you do. We believe that the world would be a better place when people make a decision based on personal enjoyment. For example, a person that has a passion to be a doctor may decide to be an engineer instead due to their family tradition. Imagine if that person has the talent to cure cancer, but in the end he couldn't make that decision because he obeyed his family tradition in order to receive their validation. It's a well-known fact that people do better decisions, people do better job when they are doing something they enjoy. So it's only rational to use personal enjoyment to guide the person's decision together with empathy, so that the personal enjoyment does not cause harm onto others. We in the government fully believe that the world would be a better place if social validation does not become the motivating factor in people's decision. We believe in a world where a kid does not feel the need to permanently damage his lung and vape and cigarette out of desperate need to be seen as cool. We believe in a world where everyone is accepted as beautiful in their own way, and they do not need to spend all their money to change themselves in order to be liked. We believe in a world where people are free to express themselves and pursue the life they want. So, ladies and gentlemen, think about what the opposite end of this debate is. Think about the opposite end of this debate is. If you agree with the opposition, If you agree with the opposition, you'll be agreeing that you prefer a world where people make decisions motivated by social validation, a world where people stop wanting to be themselves, but instead wanting to be what people want them to be, a world where people are living in a constant state of uncertainty, where your entire existence is largely oriented on trying to impress other people by seeking their approval, a dystopian world where people are enslaved by other people's validation. The moment we try to justify this is the moment we fail as the human being, and this is the world that the opposition is trying to justify. So, ladies and gentlemen, the side of the opposition are going to need to prove to us with solid and concrete evidence as to why, how does a world where people are enslaved by other people's validation somehow a better world than a world where people are free to express themselves. And if they couldn't prove this, which I'm sure they couldn't, then it's obvious that they have failed this debate. Ladies and gentlemen, the opposition may try. Ladies and gentlemen, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled is trying to convince us that he does not exist. I will repeat this. The greatest trick the devil ever pulled is trying to convince us that he does not exist. Because the most dangerous something could be is when people deny the existence of that danger. When you deny how dangerous something is, then that danger will become something unexpected, something much more radical than it could have been if we acknowledge the danger and try to destroy it. And in my speech, and that's why I said the greatest trick the devil ever pulled is trying to convince us that he does not exist. In my short speech, I've proven how dangerous it is to make decisions motivated by social validation. A world without this dangerous culture would be a utopia compared to vice versa. And the opposition may try to deny how dangerous a world that they're preaching. But the only thing that would prove, I repeat, the opposition may try to deny how dangerous the world that they're trying to preach. But the only thing that would prove is that they have fallen into the devil's trick. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prime Minister of the government team. Very strong start. We'll now go on with the leader of the opposition team, Shahmi. Here.
I believe that every success begins with a dream. However, in a world where individuals are driven by personal enjoyment, a world where government is pushing, I believe that's an impossible dream. Ladies and gentlemen, within my speech for today, I have three components. Firstly, I'm going to add on characterization that the handsome speaker before me left out. Secondly, several rebuttals towards the first speaker, and last but not least, my argumentation. So, going on to my characterization, what did the first speaker forget? Understand that within status quo right now, we have already discussions, forums, session talking about mental health, falling into peer pressure. All these things exist. Society realizes and society admits the existence of social validation. What society is doing right now in status quo is teaching society to learn how to not be exploited by the negative effects of social validation, how to handle social validation. These are things where the first speaker completely neglected and assumed that that doesn't happen within the world right now. So what is our burden coming from side opposition? Our burden is to firstly prove how social validation or it as a motivating factor helps individuals to become a better individual, and how a world without social validation is more harmful compared to a world with social validation or the status quo right now. Understand? So moving on to my rebuttals. So what did the first speaker tell us about? The first speaker told us a myriad of harmful examples that social validation gave to us. However, understand that there is also a plethora of good countless examples that social validation have given to an individual. For example, when a child or a children would want to study because she wants or he wants the acceptance of his parents, of her parents. This is an example of good validation. Things where it acts as a driving factor, so people can become a better person. So people can see, so that individuals will be more accepted by society, especially in terms of education, in terms of achievements. All these things help an individual to be better. And what else did the first speaker say? the first speaker or the first speaker's alternative was that individuals should base it on personal enjoyment. However, understand that it's subjective, it's very subjective, because understand that if my personal enjoyment was to watch Netflix 24 hours 7, if my personal enjoyment was to smoke or was to do things against the law, then that means government is also supporting a world that allows individuals to do things like this, where government is supporting a world where individuals should be doing what they love, and therefore things such as not studying, not focusing on their academics, even harming their own personal health, if it means that I enjoy smoking or if I enjoy harming people.
PI.
So moving on to my argumentation. Before that, yes.
So in this world right now, there are a huge part of society that thinks smoking is good. So how does on your side cater towards this problem?
If they believe it's good, then I see no problem. However, but understand that the motion isn't about whether smoking is good or not. Because if it's caused by social validation, then I already told you that status quo deals with it. Firstly, my second point of analysis is that it's not the fault of social validation. It's the fault of individuals that aren't able to cater towards the negative effects of social validation. Peer pressure exists everywhere. Stress, pressure from parents exists. However, people still turn out fine too. It's not the fault of social validation. Just because there are negative effects of social validation, it doesn't mean you should neglect it 100% and allow individuals to completely live their lives contingent upon personal enjoyment. So moving on to my argumentation. Understand that what does social validation do towards an individual? Social validation acts as a natural check and balance when deciding what a person should do in life. Why is this true? Understand that when we take social validation into account within our decision making, we take into account what society thinks of us, or what we take into account what happens when we make that decision and how society reacts us making that decision. Therefore, in other words, our reputation then becomes on the line. If we were on the line whether I should study or whether I should study or smoke, maybe if I was to be a doctor and engineer, the thing is, what happens then is we are able to properly take into consideration what society thinks, because the origin of social validation is through stereotypes and norms. However, most of these stereotypes and norms have good purpose behind them. Therefore, what happens is we are able to properly evaluate what happens once we make this decision, when we take into account whether we choose to do this or we choose to do that. Because we live within a society. If we were an individual, then our choices won't harm anyone. But the reason why social validation exists is because it also harms, or it also indirectly impacts other people too. Me becoming a doctor or me becoming a streamer can also affect my parents later. Me choosing to smoke or me choosing to study can also affect my friends, can also affect the reputation of not myself but my family and friends too. So to understand, this is why social validation is very important. It helps society, it helps individual when making on the moment of making that decision. It helps us to choose and properly evaluate whether it helps us or it's making us selfish. Team government only will create a world where individuals are selfish, where individuals only want their personal enjoyment but not thinking about their family members, not thinking about their education, their health. A lot of things are being neglected the moment you side with government that only wants to prioritize your personal enjoyment. Understand that life isn't only about enjoying what you want to do. Let's be realistic that our life is also to help society as a whole, is also to learn, is also to educate, and also to become a better person. Side with a world that wants each and every one of us to become a better person as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you, the Leader of Opposition. Very strong rebuttal. Now I call upon the Deputy of Prime Minister from the government team, Bella. Here.
If external validation is your only source of nourishment, then there will be no doubt that you'll be hungry for the rest of your life. Side opposition has been fighting a losing battle from the get-go, from the moment they decided that social validation is indeed the best guide to live your life. Panel, today I'm going to be doing 3 things in my speech. The first is that I'm going to deconstruct any anatomy of their case by rebutting the points that has been presented so far. Next, I'm going to present my argument by painting you a world under side opposition of how it looks like under their side, in contrast of how it looks like under ours. And lastly, I'm going to conclude everything that I've said while also reinforcing what has been argued by my Prime Minister. First things first, rebuttals. So, the Leader of Opposition has stated that there are solutions right now, right, to help everyone with their mental health because of peer pressure and such. Not everyone is privileged enough to be exposed to these methods to help them to deal with peer pressure, to deal with social validations, right? People are prone to be exposed to social validation no matter how much you try to stop them. So next that I'm going to talk about is like he talks about how social validation is good in terms that, you know, the feeling of being accepted by your parents, the feeling of being accepted by your peers. The acceptance, ladies and gentlemen, can indeed backfire. So pushing them to study too much because they think that their worth is based on academic achievements, right? It is ironic as he had preached about mental health earlier, and I think it's funny coming from their side. So on both sides, he also talked something about how personal enjoyment might lead to crime and such. Here's what you need to understand. On both sides, crime is something that is inevitable. We think that it's irrelevant for them to even bring this up in the first place. There are still laws under both sides. We're not excluding the fact that. So it is very relevant for them to approach this debate this way. Next, I'm going to proceed to my arguments. So ladies and gentlemen, I'll begin my argument by painting a picture of what the world of opposition looks like. We believe that under their world, the conceptualization of oneself is totally destroyed. The members of the society has completely lost their sense of individuality. They don't even know what they want and why they want it, because they do things to seek the validation and the approval of others. Like what I stated before, a student will only do what their parents want them to do, right? Because of validation coming from their parents. Opposition's work consists of people who behave and act similar to one another, similar to machines, right? Because they struggle with deciding for themselves, as all of them depend on the opinion of the majority later in order to dictate their lives. When you depend on the validation of others to decide on what you want to do, you lose the meaning of life. Under side government, we believe that your life is yours to live, not for others to dictate what you should do, right? To live inside opposition's world is a dangerous game to play, and I'll tell you why. We don't have to look far for examples, right? We'll take, for example, status quo right now. What I'm describing to you is a status quo, and it is a world that side opposition is trying so hard to defend. Have you ever heard of the common stereotype where if you're an art student, you'll go nowhere in life, and if you're a science stream student, you'll be likely to succeed and live a lavish life, unlike those other than you, right? It's considered that that people who go into art stream is like stupid. Their results aren't as good as people who go into science stream, right? This is even more prominent when you're deciding on a career path, and society tells you that you'll have no future if you don't become a lawyer, if you don't become a doctor, if you don't become an engineer, or anything that is acceptable in the eyes of the society. Another example that I can give you is that it involves freely expressing yourself. One is considered a bad influence if they dress up differently than others, if they express their thoughts and opinions and their actions are not conforming to the society, right? What are the harms of this to individuals? People will certainly try to avoid being viewed badly by society as to avoid social repercussions, even when what they want to do is sometimes different than the usual norm. For example, being an artist, right? They'll refrain from doing the things that they love, and they'll give everything up just so that they can fit in. Like, does that make sense to you? To be a people pleaser is indeed a bad thing to do, because you're living for others and not living for yourself. At the end of the day, you're as empty as a shell because you realize you've never done anything for yourself. You give up being an artist because others judge you for it. You give up wearing that pair of clothing that you've always wanted to wear just because you think others won't like you for it. In the modern world, the need for social validation is even worse with the existence of social media. People's decisions are even more affected with the things they see online, right? So for example, you go on Instagram and then you see people being productive, people creating study Instagrams, people having such an aesthetic life, such a perfect family, perfect circle of friends, and you compare yourself to them thinking that why isn't my life like this, right? It's so easy to be disappointed by your own expectations when you can't afford to buy the latest smartphones, purchase the newest shoes from your favorite brands. All of these variables, right, they affect your decision making in so many ways. Yet side opposition still thinks social validation is important, and that's a shame on their part. So, ladies and gentlemen, all of the harms I've given to you can be solved if our society were to depend on personal enjoyment instead of social validation. Like what my Prime Minister has told you, we'll be substituting, I'll be doing a trade-off where we very much prefer a world that has its own people to decide what they want to do on their own, not to chase others' validations. We think it's an ideal world as it benefits the people the most and the society. So in order for the members of the society, right, to coexist and to live a happy life, they need to be able to dictate their own choices and not rely on the way others see them. As a result of this trade-off, society will flourish as a whole because it's now free from the judgment of the people. Everyone is given equal chances to do whatever one pleases, right? You don't even have to think about what others think of you. When you want to do something when you want to indulge in a career path that is different from the majority of the society. And not only that, a person is more likely to be motivated if they themselves are interested in doing something, not because it's what the society desires. In return, this will benefit the society, as the hard work of someone's passion will surely bear fruit at the end of the day. So I like to also re-explain in case side opposition doesn't understand. We're not talking about crime here because we think that it's irrelevant to even bring this up in the first place, right? Crime exists. It's inevitable. There's good and evil in both sides of the world. A law still exists even if we take away social validation, right? So it's irrelevant for you to even approach that in the first place. If you still do, then clearly you're losing this debate because you don't understand the real purpose of today's debate. And I think that side government is going on the right track for today. And I like to reaffirm that we on side government's bench wholeheartedly support the motion. And with that, I rest my case. Thank you.
Thank you, the Deputy of Prime Minister from the government team. I will now call upon the Deputy of Leader of Opposition, Nurin. Here.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Right. Ladies and gentlemen, the government side is living in a bubble where they're trying to characterize social validation as something that is bad and radical and toxic without taking in the check and balances. But we believe that is not the case. So moving on to my rebuttals. Firstly, the Prime Minister, he was extremely contradictory in his speech by giving illustrations such as a doctor or engineer following family traditions. But we tell you that family traditions in itself is a form of social validation. So that's extremely contradictory in his speech. And secondly, the Deputy Prime Minister talked about how people in our world are robots or machines, are only conforming to what others are believing. But we tell you that is not true, because sometimes social validation in itself can be something that can be appraisal or proving something that is right for that person to follow. And thirdly, the Deputy Prime Minister also talked about how a person will be motivated by they themselves. But like my Leader of Opposition has said, social validation is subjective and some people need it in their lives in order to move on. So, moving on to my arguments. Firstly, our society will be indoctrinated with succumbing to the bare minimum without social validation into their decisions. So first level analysis, why is this true? Because more often than not, people need a driving force in their life in making decisions. Social validation is that driving force. It incentivizes individuals to strive for the best of themselves. So what does that driving force look like? It's basically societal perception of what to become, whether it's from your parents or peers or friends. These individuals can give their own opinions on your decisions and see what's best for you. For example, whether you want to be a valedictorian in Harvard or you want to get a dean's list for this recent midterm. Most people are doing it for social validation from the stakeholders in their life. Even if side gov were to say, oh, this is bad for your mental health, this is peer pressure, but the counter narrative to this is that if you were to fail in life and not get what were you aiming for, then isn't that more detrimental to your mental health? These individuals need social validation to make themselves feel better. We believe that those social validations are the reasons they can feel better at the end of the day. And the comparative here is that, whereas under side government, these individuals will never be incentivized to push themselves and staying in their own echo chamber where they don't get feedback on their actions about what is and what is not harmful towards themselves or about staying in their comfort zones when making decisions. For example, if there wasn't social validation and you have a big exam coming up, the mindset would be, no one's going to judge me for failing this exam. I might as well not study tonight. So why is it important not to stay at the bare minimum? We prefer a world where we can put to their biggest potential and not be regretful over the actions that they were supposed to do and put aside because there wasn't a bigger picture from the social validations that they could have got from the stakeholders in their life. For example, when you fail the exam, and then you'll start to feel regretful for your decision because you didn't study. You'll feel immense low self-esteem. This is the effects that could happen if there wasn't social validation. Sure, we can see that low self-esteem could also happen under our world, but under your side it's much more harmful because there isn't a driving factor for people to obtain their biggest potential to satisfy themselves on what they aim for. And secondly, on my argument on how social validation can actually be something beneficial in making these decisions, especially for the minority groups. So, first level analysis, why is this true? Because if we see minority groups like the LGBTQIA community or the people of color, we believe that these individuals need social validation to make them feel welcome in the realms of society, to transcend themselves into thinking that society approves of their actions. So how does social validation do this? It helps through praise or approval from the communities engaging with these individuals via social media. Because in status quo, we're living in a day and age where these individuals can flourish with their decisions because of the social validation they get. To further illustrate, if I am gay and I'm having a hard time to make a decision to come out of the closet, then the social validation I get from social media and supporting communities is the sole reason that motivates me to come out of the closet and be who I am, i.e. from Twitter or TikTok or whatever welcoming community, because we live in the 21st century. Not all social validation is bad. Before that, yes.
So in the status quo right now, a lot of for instance, gay people have not yet come out of the closet due to social validation in the first place. So please justify.
I told you that there are forms of positive social validation. There isn't only negative social validations inside the school. There are social validations that are positive in our community today. If you haven't been on Twitter, there are many people approving and appraising people in today's society. We feel like yes.
Yes, there are positive and negative social validation, but the one that you just gave, the example that you just gave, is the negative one. Because if people are gay in Malaysia and they confess, trust me, so social validation is going to make them even more stressed. Because Malaysia is a pretty conservative country.
You see, we shouldn't only put this in a bad light. For example, your government side is only putting this motion in the bad light on their side. It's only taking all the benefits on their side. They should see the check and balances between this. So what I told you about is how if I am gay and I found a community online, I found them through Twitter, then I would have the initiative to actually explain myself, and because there's a welcoming community of social validations. So why is this important? We prefer a world where these minorities can feel accepted, because more often than not, these people have gone through immense traumatic background or feeling like absolute trash in their life, and this form of social validation makes them feel special and makes them feel like they can thrive. Another example, the body positivity movement. Their ideologies made people comfortable with posting their natural bodies on social media, like cellulite, stretch marks, and so on and so forth. And the validation they got under their comment sections were praising them and made them feel affirmed with what they were doing, which encouraged more people to reveal themselves and make more people comfortable in their own skin. So at the end of the day, that validation and that conformity isn't always something like that is bad, like the government side is trying to portray. They haven't even gave us any trade-offs to why there could be something good under our side too. Even if the government were to say there are forms of harmful narratives on this minority group, there are also forms. Yes, we can see that there are harmful narratives, but at least under our side, these minorities will still have that community of validation and appraisal. Because we can't have a utopia where it's going to be positive all the time. There must be a check and balance in the world, just like my leader of opposition has already stated. So, ladies and gentlemen, aside from the debate, if I were you, I would prefer a world where I'm validated for my actions, whether they are right or wrong, because I don't want to be stuck in a bubble like side government. And with that, I'm extremely proud to oppose.
Thank you, the Deputy of Leader of Opposition. I will now call upon the whip of the government, Aiman. Here.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, if Greta Thunberg were to tell me that she's going to travel all around the world and change our environment rather than saying that she wants to go to school, I would say that she is ridiculous and I would not approve. That is the world that the opposition side is proposing to us. My role as the third speaker or the government whip is very simple. Number one, I'm going to show to you the flaws that exist on the opposition side as a whole. Number two, I'm going to rebut their arguments individually. And last but not least, I'm going to compare both worlds and tell you why you need to go with the government side. Very simple. So the first role, what are the problems that exist in the opposition side as a whole? Number one, they think that social validation is a good thing. They think that it is in the fault of individual, that when they especially when they can't control themselves. We think that the reason why people can't control themselves in the first place, or when people don't really have confidence in themselves in the first place, because they are living in a society that gives them the social validation that they think they needed in the first place. In our world, this does not exist. Number two, they think that status quo is enough. When they said the status quo is enough, I think that they're ignoring the fact there are a lot of people out there who are a college dropout because they choose the wrong course, because there are because they are influenced, or because they ask the social validation coming from their parents, coming from Instagram followers at the end of the day. And there are a lot of other pictures. No, thank you. And there are a lot of other pictures that I can tell you. Last but not least, they talk about how people with low self-esteem should really need social validation. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's what we're trying to tell you. Imagine if you're living in a world where social validation does not exist in the first place. People with low self-esteem will definitely decrease at the end of the day, because they are trained, because they are born, they are living in a culture that does not need the social validation in the first place. So now let's move on to the arguments, right? So two things that they talk about in this debate. Number one, they talk about how when people take social validation into consideration, it helps individuals to choose and properly evaluate their decision. So, three responses to this argument. Number one, it doesn't help individual to choose. Why? Because they're asking from outsiders' opinions, right? They're asking from people who have not who has not been in their shoes, who does not experience the same thing as they did. Hence, we think that it is absolutely wrong for you to ask people's opinion when they do not consider other factors that is happening, other crises that is happening in your daily or personal lives. No, thank you. Second response is that we think that this benefit of people are taking society's consideration is only in a cosmetic measures, which means only to a certain extent. Why? Because at the end of the day, the decision that they make is preferred by society. We're not saying that social validation is bad as a whole. We think that social validation is a good thing, but it's not the main factor that we need in today's life. That's not the main thing that we should need, or that we should worry about. We think that at the end of the day, when people ask society's validation, they're not going to full-heartedly love what they choose or love what they are doing. And last but not least, we'll tell you how this is far more better achievable in our side, because we think that personal decision is individual's responsibility to choose. Each and every one of us have the responsibility to do this. So even if it goes in a way that we do not expect it to be, we think that at the end of the day, we have the regrets that will teach us, we have the experience that we need to move on to our life. Before I move on to my second rebuttal, yes.
So, how, under your circumstances then, an individual making a choice will not be clouded by what his personal interest, will not be clouded by what he really wants in what he enjoys?
I don't really understand, because when you said people's decision will be clouded, it will only be clouded on your side, right? Because we have this parent's opinion, the society's opinion in the first place. If you're thinking it on yourself, I don't see how it will get clouded in the first place. Second, rebuttals. They talk about how people need a driving factor to succeed. Two responses. Number one, I think that when I motivate by myself to do something, it is much more efficient, it is much more enjoyable. We believe that the idea of self-actualization exclusively exists on our side because we ourselves wants to do it, without taking people's consideration or social validation. Second response, I think that people will be more happy. No, thank you. I think that people will be more happy because people are not forcing me to do so, or I don't feel myself being forced to do so. The problems on their side is that when they keep thinking that social validation is needed or important, is that people at the end of the day, when they're making decision, they're not sure whether it's wrong or right, but they do know that people accept it. They do know that it is right in the eyes of society, but not necessarily on their own eyes. Last rebuttal. They talk about people need social validation to express themselves, and they give like this example of people coming out from closet, right? I think that when people need to, like on their side, people need someone else to be freed. People need social validation to fully express themselves, and I think that this is just wrong in the first place. So then with my second rule, right? So let's compare both worlds. Our best case scenario is that people are able to express their opinion freely. We get to create a more creative and innovative society in the first place because people get to choose whatever they want. If they want to be an artist, a lot of people would say that he's crazy or that he is not thinking logically. But if we're going with the opposition's mindset, we're not going to create more artists, we're not going to create actors, singers, innovative in the first place. Now, our worst case, sure, their decision could go southways, right? They can go in a very wrong way. But like I stated earlier, to the very least, they have the regrets that will teach them. They will have the experience that will help them to improve themselves in their future. Their best case is literally the current status quo, which is not really good place for us to live in the first place, right? Because a lot of people has been dropping out of college because they think that they choose the wrong course. A lot of people are still in the closet. A lot of people are still not being able to express themselves freely. Their worst case is like what second speaker stated. A lot of people won't have like self-confidence when it comes to choosing their own path career or their own life decision. So ladies and gentlemen, just imagine yourself for a second that you're living in a world without social validation, without your parents telling which is good for you and which is bad, but instead you yourself get to evaluate what do you want and what will make you happy. Imagine how productive and how enjoyable life will be at the end of the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Aiman, whip of the government. I will now call upon the whip from the opposition team. Shara, here.
Ladies and gentlemen, optimism is a good thing, I don't deny, but it is not in the case of team government today. And I'll tell you why. You see, their main stand from the first speaker to the third speaker has stated that social validation is good, but it is not the main priority. And I assume that they are focusing their priorities on the individual's interest. Now, let me tell you why. On team opposition, we prioritize social validation instead of personal interest. Let's see. Do you really think that individuals' interests can overrule society's personal validation? You see, individuals' own beliefs that what they're doing is right or wrong differs from one individual to another, whereas society as a whole can come to a universal agreement that what they are doing is correct. Therefore, this is correct. It is more precise to base our what we are doing as right or wrong based on society's validation. Now, team government today has been stating that individuals' interests overrule society's validation because that is what it is for the for the benefit of themselves. But hear me out, ladies and gentlemen. What makes a community a community is the individual's actions and decisions. Do you understand that whether or not what they decide, whether or not it is for their own self, it will indirectly affect society as a whole? Now, I will move on to my rebuttals and strengthening my points by my teammates. Firstly, the Prime Minister from the government team has stated that social validation can be good, but it can also be damaging as people will not be able to express themselves and will be stuck in a loophole of upholding traditions and what their family wants. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. Family pressures you into doing something for a reason. You see, if it's you against your whole family, there must be a reason why you are the only one in the wrong. Family knows what's best for you. For example, I will take the example given by the Prime Minister. He said that, for example, a child wants to pursue a career in arts instead of science. But the family understands that no matter how optimistic you can be that your passion will one day make you the next Leonardo da Vinci, it is true that the art stream in the 21st century has low payage. So that's why they peer pressure their children into doing what they want, because they understand, because they can see, because they are not clouded by their own personal interests, that is what they should. That is what. Yes.
So you truly believe that you would prefer a society full of unhappy people that are unable to do what they want? Is that what you want?
A society of unhappy people who tries to do what can be best for the community is better than a society where individuals are selfish and act as themselves that could potentially destroy the community in the future. Let's see, ladies and gentlemen, team opposition today are looking in the near future. We are not stuck in our present time where we are only focused on what that individual wants. We can foresee that through personal interest and selfish desires, that person will affect the community. Like imagine a society, imagine a community where people do not care about each other's, people do not care about society's approval. What do you think will happen then? They will act as their own and they will not care about how it will affect their community altogether. This could make them happy, yes, at first, but in the near future it will be damaging to not only themselves but towards the whole community. Now, as my first speaker had said, my leader of opposition has said, social validation acts as a check in balance, because what you think is right may not be right to other people, and if it's you against the whole community, obviously the whole community is at the right. Why is that? Because your own interests cannot be seen as correct, cannot be seen as the right thing to do when it is against a whole bunch of other people who have agreed on the same idea. See, the mutual exclusive benefit works both ways. You yourself think what you're doing is right, but it is not seen as approval by the other community. Now, the second deputy prime minister has stated that individuals will be sad if they do not get approval from society as to what they want. You see, this is the thing that the team opposition today have been trying to say. Individuals' needs and wants are not the main issue in building a future community where everyone can work as a functional human being. You see, when we prioritize the community as a whole instead of our own self-interest, we will try to be our best to fit in with the standards that has set up with society. Without the standards, how do we know how far we can go? Because if we do not base our own interest with another accomplishment, then there is no way we can updo what has been set as the standard. There will be no line where we do not know if we can cross, and that is needed in order to become the best of ourselves. Now, I would like to say our best case scenario and worst case scenario for both team government and team opposition. On team opposition, our best case scenario is that social validation peer pressures people into doing the best they could and create a community where they will try for their best. Whereas in our worst case scenario, the individual will suffer from mental health issues due to peer pressure and also stress. But that is all, ladies and gentlemen, because in the end, they will still benefit the community as a whole. On team government, their worst case scenario, their best case scenario is that the individual will live a happy and fulfilled life because they got to do what they want, which is kind of childish if you ask me, ladies and gentlemen, because we are not living in a community just to please ourselves. We have our responsibility to benefit the community as well. Whereas your worst case scenario, if the individual's interest conflicts with the interest of society, it will be damaging and not for the greater good. So if you ask team opposition whether we prioritize society as a whole or an individual's personal interest, we would choose society as a whole because that is seen as the majority group. Whereas team government is very optimistic, and as my second leader of opposition has said, living in a bubble where they think if they got to do what they want, everybody will be happy and live in a fairy tale. And with that, I would like to conclude that team opposition here speaks not only for individuals but society as a whole, and whether or not it is the ugly truth, it is what's right and what should be done. Thank you.
Thank you, whip of the opposition team. I will now call for reply speeches for 2 minutes by the opposition team, and I will proceed by the government team. Who is going to do the reply speech from the opposition team?
Ames, is it 2 minutes or 5 minutes?
5 minutes, sorry. Okay, you may start. Here.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think we need to step back and evaluate how has the debate progressed within what's happening within today's world. Understand what government has been trying to tell us is an idealistic and an utopia of what happens within their world. They have completely neglected the worst case scenarios that happen within status quo right now and assume the very worst. They didn't debate. They didn't disapprove. They didn't disagree with the status quo that's happening right now. But they made an idealistic fantasy of how our world would be. They made the world that we're living in right now way worse compared to how we're actually living the world that we're in right now. Because understand that firstly, what did team government tell us? Team government told us that we will easily be influenced by social validations. We won't be happy. We will easily be peer pressured into doing things that are wrong. What else they told us lots of things. However, understand that these things have been catered to because the status quo that we're living in right now is not as bad as how team government paints them to be. However, under their world, understand that when you allow an individual to make their own choices, especially when you take into consideration what they want, for example, they want what is best for them. They want what makes them happy. However, society chooses, or the society's options are ambiguous. It isn't based on what makes an individual happy, but what is best for that individual themselves. For example, in terms of career, if we're being realistic, I would not want to continue I would not even want to continue foundation. I would rather do whatever I want, because if I were to live in government world and I choose whatever I want, I don't want to study anymore. I want to live my life as happy as I can be. However, that's why social validation is also very important, because there are check and balances. You allow parents to step in, friends, your loved ones to step in and say that it's not the best course for you to not study anymore, or for you to choose whatever you want just because it's something that makes you happy. We have to be realistic here, and society helps us do that. Society acts as our reason to things that we might feel as if it's good for us. However, it could be contradicting with what society with what we need and the status quo that's happening right now. Understand also, under their best case scenario, they made it all seem very nice under their world. They told us that people will always be happy, that and they told us that right now in our world, no one will be no one will be artists anymore. There will be no more streamers. There will be no more painters, no more actors. But that's not what's happening within status quo right now. We're not saying just because society says no, it doesn't mean that you have to follow them. The motion says, right, that it becomes a motivating factor. It doesn't mean that you have to exactly follow what it means. That's why within the world that we live in right now, there are people. We still have actors. We still have artists within the world that we live in right now. It's because even with social validation, individuals also are able to do things that they want. These are people that know what they want clearly, and people who don't need social validation. However, under government world, they neglect people who need social validation, people who need their parents' approval, people who need motivation from either their friends, people who believe that when they get good grades, they are able to assimilate better within their peers. They are able to feel more about themselves, feel more happier compared to when you only allow them to do things by themselves, where they won't have the motivation to study. The bare minimum is what society will get at the end of the day. We believe that team government have completely neglected these people, have abandoned them, and therefore side with a world that caters towards all of society, that helps people who need social validation too, and also lives a realistic life. We aren't saying that we believe that just because you allow individuals to be happy, it doesn't mean it's the best choice for them, and it doesn't mean that it can be beneficial, especially when we are clouded by what we want and what makes us happy, not what's best for us. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I will call for reply speech by the government team.
Greetings, panel. Three aspects of my reply speech that I'll introduce to you today. First is what side opposition has stated and why they're wrong. Secondly is what government has stated and why we're right. And third is why we deserve to bring the win back home for today. Firstly, what they said. Under their side, right, from the get-go, my Prime Minister has stated to you that you have a burden of proof to prove why under your world is way better than our world, where people who are having struggling with the identity of themselves. How is this world better than ours? They have not addressed this issue explicitly, and we think it is a clear reason why they should lose today's debate, right? And they've talked so much about how the driving force of the people, how people need the driving force to strive to do better, right? How these people need validations from the people around them to be a better person. I've told you before that this can backfire. Imagine if a child, right, is struggling because of the validation coming from his or her parents, right? They depend too much on academic achievements that one day they will lose the interest to study, right? This backfires on them. What happened to the validation that was so talked about before, right? When they lose the interest to study, it defeats the purpose of social validation as a whole. And I think this is very ironic on your side. So they're focusing on such a small matter, right? They refuse to acknowledge the fact that social validation brings way more harms than good. They refuse to acknowledge the fact that even though there may be positive outcomes, right, the negative outcomes will always overweigh the positive ones. This is a fact that you should acknowledge under your world, like status quo these days. Under their side, they refuse to acknowledge the fact that mental health issues, the fact that these people who are struggling with sense of individuality and such that I've explained before, they refuse to acknowledge that this problem might cause a deeper problem to society in the future, right? So next, I'm going to elaborate on what we said. So my Prime Minister has painted to you a world, our world, that would be beneficial for the society as a whole. Because you see, when people are happy, they can contribute to society as a whole. People are happy will always influence the benefit of so many people, right? And I've told you before that under their world, it is such a destructive world where people cannot adhere to the best of their capabilities. People can't be happy. People can't do whatever that they want to do. And we think that is unfair for everyone, right? We think that on their side, they are fighting a losing battle to even begin with. So I'm going to explain why, at the end of today's debate, we should bring back the win. So from the get-go, we've provided you with a trade-off, right? We explained that personal enjoyment is better compared to social validation. We've also explained about the solutions to solve the problem. When people enjoy what they do, they will give back to society. When people enjoy what they do their jobs better than people who do not enjoy their jobs. But they completely disregarded that method. They say that no, that is not true, but then fails to explain to us how on earth is this untrue. So I think that is very funny coming from their side of the case. And we think that our trade-off is not only beneficial to individuals, it is also beneficial for the betterment of the society, right? Like what I've stated to you before. It is beneficial to individuals. Under our world, we prioritize the betterment of individuals. We think it is important for these people to be happy. We think that it's important to cater to these people's mental health. We think that it's very important for someone to come up to us and own the fact that they are who they are, and not what other people want them to be. And this is a fact that side opposition cannot deny in the first place. We think that under a world where everyone is happy, where everyone is satisfied, right? At least there won't be regrets, regardless of the outcomes that will come later. And we think that it is very proper for everyone to consider this debate, right? Why you should consider giving the win to us in the first place. If you want to be happy, please choose side government. If you want to be unhappy and burdened and be burdened with the peer pressure, right? Burdened with the validation coming from your parents, burdened with doing things that you don't want to do, sure, you can go ahead and live in side opposition's world like status quo right now. And I know a lot of people can agree with me when they think that social validation is indeed a damaging thing to even start to talk about in the first place, right? And that is from the case of side government. Thank you.
Thank you, Whip Government. Thank you, all debaters from both the government team and opposition team. I think both teams make very compelling arguments that are hard to deny. And I think personally both teams should win. But unfortunately, as a moderator, I should remain neutral. I should not be biased to anybody. And since we do not have or lack adjudicators, we are unable to decide the winning team on our own. So I want to call for the audience in the Google Meet and also in the comment section in the YouTube live streaming to vote for your winning team. So our secretaries will be posting the link for you to vote, and in that link also contain the attendance form that you will have to fill. So if you want to gain Koku marks, you have to vote for your team and fill in your attendance. The debaters and me are not allowed to vote. Thank you. I think we'll give 5 minutes for everyone to vote for your team. Thank you. Oh, wow. At what time will we end for the vote? I think 9:55 we could end the vote. Everybody agrees with me? All right. Okay, sorry, I missed the time. It is now 9:56, and I will now announce.
Ames,
Yes.
sorry for interrupting. Can we wait until 10? Because the voting is still moving.
Oh, sure, okay. But can we do something while waiting? I'm kind of bored.
You can sing.
Aim, sing.
Sing.
I'm sorry. What should I say? I can sing Happy Birthday and ABC. But
Yeah, it's my birthday, Aim, sing.
Oh my god, it's your birthday? Seriously, Kira?
No, it's not.
Okay.
Got cheated
Is anyone
again.
born in October?
I am, but not now.
Oh my god, that counts.
Kira's
That
born in
counts.
October?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Aim, sing. Sing the happy
What, just
birthday.
me? Oh my god,
Yes,
we do
yes.
a choir lah. What the hell?
No. We need you to sing.
I lost my voice, baby.
That doesn't sound. Is that a computer voice? No. Oh my god, am I the only one singing? This is so embarrassing, y'all. What if an agency scouted me or something? Why don't the debaters sing with me?
No, never mind. I have a sore throat. I'm very tired from talking. So you do the honors.
Oh my god, I can tell your fans right now that you are lying. You got fans, you know. Yes, you are. Oh my god, should I show you SS? Everybody is simping you left and right. Says what?
Bella got simps.
No.
Oh my god. Bella got Sims.
Maybe Ames can interview the debaters. I'm sure many of the audience would like to know them better.
Yes, madam.
Like their
Yeah.
phone number.
I will.
Kena ada fan club lepas ni.
Oh my god, yes. I want to become the president. Finally something I am worthy for. You know, something I am finally born to do.
Baby
President of a fan
secretary
club.
work banyak lagi.
Oh my, I'm blind. I cannot see. Suddenly cannot see, madam. So okay, I will now be interviewing our debaters while waiting for the voting. So I will first start with the Prime Minister of the government side, Iril. Iril, yoo-hoo. Tiba.
Hello.
Hey, so can I interview you? Are you free? Obviously you are.
Sure.
Can I ask you for your full name?
Muhammad Airil Aiman bin Mahmud.
Yes. Okay, so can I ask you, what makes you feel attracted and wanting to start debate?
I'm not sure. To be honest, I'm not sure. I just somehow I feel like it's the right thing.
Very compelling argument. Okay, do you have any role models that you look up to while you are debating?
Not very much because I don't know much professional debater. Although there are some debater that I respect like Said Sadiq and stuff and others.
Yes, we all like Syed Sadiq. Yes. Oh, sorry. What course are you from again?
UiTM Law. I think I'm the only one from UiTM Law that actually debated, that participate in today's debate.
Oh, is he the only one? Oh, it's okay.
Yeah.
You know, the minority is okay. Okay, I think we will be moving on to the leader of opposition, Shahmi. Shahmi, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, so this is the only science student representative for today's debate, and I am offended that you vote government more than opposition because what? Okay, sorry, joke, sorry. Okay, so may I ask for your full name?
My full name is Shahmi Adli bin Supri.
Okay, so can I ask you, when you went into debate, what is your first impression of debate?
Well, I was forced to enter debating by my secondary school teacher, so
Oh my god,
obviously
social validation, is that? Oh my god, yeah, he got experience. No wonder he was so into it, you know. He was like, oh my god, no.
so yeah lah. My impression was negative because I was forced.
Okay, but what makes you continue into debating even after you were forced?
After a while, I managed to enter lots of competitions during secondary school that made me enjoy debating more, I guess. Exposure to the competitions helped a lot.
Exposure. So now you went from hating debate into loving debate, is it?
Yes, I would say that's true.
Oh my god, stop y'all. Do not compare me to an iconic queen, Y'all are embarrassing me. Gosh, blushing. Natural blush, not the ones that I just applied. I mean, wuduk. Okay, thank you, Shahmi. Now I will be interviewing the Deputy of Prime Minister, Bella. Yoo-hoo!
Hello.
So, Bella got quite the attention tonight from the live streaming and all the
Which I
WhatsApp
have no
just
idea
received.
why.
Oh, stop. Oh, stop says you know why. Okay, so
I don't know why actually.
oh my god, someone. Should I tell
Hello?
you?
Oh my goodness.
Oh my god, yes. Tell her what. this.
Man, you snapped.
I'm trying so hard
Yes.
not to curse at you because I
I'm
am the
so
moderator and I just said that you cannot curse. Now this is killing me.
Okay, questions.
Okay, questions.
So, Bella, what will you say to your fans out there?
I don't have fans.
Oh my god.
Stop saying that.
She got no fans. She got Sims.
Yeah.
I think
Okay,
I just have a
so-
lot of supportive friends instead of fans. Like my friends are very supportive, classmates,
Oh my
etc.
god. So, okay, we go with your friends, whatever suits you. Okay. Okay, may I ask you, where did you get your style of debating? Like, when you first started debating, I'm pretty sure you are confused on how you should present yourself. But over time, how do you get into your own style of debate?
When I first started debating, I didn't know like how I should be debating. I only like adopted styles from a lot of debaters that I see. But then like as you debate, right, you will eventually find your style. Like for me, like when I talk, I just feel very angry, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah,
I
it
just
makes
feel
sense.
like I just feel the need to like knock some sense into some people. Like I just want to tell them like this is like what's going on right now, stuff like that.
Not something into some people
Yeah.
like you lah.
Yeah, but some people view that negatively. Like some people think, you know, I'm forcing them or like my style is like very scary, which I think I don't mean to, you know, make it seem that way. So yeah.
So, talking about style, is there any particular style of debaters that you do not like?
I think every debating style is very unique, but maybe if I could choose one, it's like the style where they feel the need to intonate every word, like you know they press on every word, and then it just becomes very confusing to listen to because you can't really rule out which one is important and which one is not.
Can you
But,
give an
like, I don't-
example?
Like if they have a speech, they'll press on every word. Like for example, like we believe that, something like that. But you know, I think that every debating style is unique, and you know, it should be appreciated. So I don't really have a bias towards any debating style.
Okay, very mature. Oh, madam is also. It's okay. Madam secretly, you know, pressing on the government, pressing on the Google form, and then vote for government. Is it? Madam, I can see you. You know.
Oh,
Tiba-
madam.
So this is what you have been up to, madam. Madam tak ada matrix no kan? So madam cannot vote. So same. Madam, you cannot vote, right? But I can see
Madam
you.
can rank though.
I'm not voting lah.
Madam secretly voting for government, is it?
I cannot vote.
Madam, you are biased.
I vote inside my heart je lah.
Oh,
Oh, dengan niat gitu, madam. Gitu. Voting for government, is it?
I cannot vote.
It's echoing.
Madam be voting like this, you know. Bismillah, government should win. Amin. Madam, turn off your mic, madam. I'm sorry. I'm crying.
Okay, go on, Ames.
Okay, let's continue with our interview.
Ames, don't forget people already.
Sorry, the internet be lagging. Why? What is that? Okay, so may I interview the deputy of leader of opposition, Nurin?
Yes.
Nurin is also, you know, a name that has been resurfaced lately from your debut. Not in debut lah, but you're in your first exposure. I mean, in your first debut. And before this, we have another debate, the one with Marvel versus DC. A lot of people are starting to recognize you, and now we're going live on YouTube. You are gaining a lot as attention. So, what does that make you feel?
I don't know. I feel weirded out because I'm like a low-key person. I don't really like a lot of attention and stuff like that.
I actually like Nurin very much. No offense, Bella. I also like you, but oh my god, I'm the moderator. Sorry, I like both of you.
It's alright. I like Nurin too. So like you know, It's not really a big deal to me. I like her too.
Yeah. So, Nurin, may I ask you the same question as Bella? Where did you get your style of debate? Because I think that your style of debate is pretty unique, just as much as Bella's. And I kind of want to know where does it Where does it originate from?
I look up to debaters like Mifdal Muhammad. You know, he's the world's champion. And also, I look at Amshar Aziz, I look at Syed Sadiq, I look at Amira Natasha. Like, I just look at all those really good debaters from Worlds.
Mm-hmm. And how did you prep for your points? Like, do you search the internet or you just brainstorm everything?
Like, I want to say thanks to our seniors because they taught us how to prep, like do levels of analysis and build those arguments. Like, you can't simply like find everything online and paste it into your arguments. You have to have a case prep, like a really good level of analysis and illustrations and comparatives and all that. So
So thank you, Nurin, for your answers. I can't wait to hear from you more. Actually, Madam has already started organizing competitions. I'm pretty sure your name is already up on the list.
As she should.
She should. Maybe getting jobs left and right. What are we going to eat? Tiba. Okay, so let's move on to our government whip. Aiman, is it already 10? It's already 10. Should we?
I will close the link on 10:10 p.m.
10:10. Okay.
Come on, guys, vote.
Vote.
Yeah,
just letting you know that
campaigning for anyone.
Aiman went somewhere, so he's a bit occupied at the moment.
Gotcha.
Yeah, just 2 more minutes.
Wait, is Aiman not here anymore? I'm scared.
He's here, but he went somewhere to do something. So he asked me to tell you that he's
Madam,
not.
can we deduct the marks for the government since they went away? I'm not doing this because I'm trying to sabotage them. I'm just doing this because
She's biased. I just know she's biased.
I'm not biased. I'm being strict. You're disrespectful, okay? Can we deduct?
Come on, and you still have Shara to interview.
Oh,
Shara is
yes.
waiting.
I'm sorry, Shara. I'm just, so compressed on the government. I'm pretty sure
She
you
got
are.
carried away being the
Sorry.
moderator and all.
I'm not.
Sorry, I don't.
So Shara, I noticed that your POIs got rejected a lot. What does that make you feel?
Bella is my classmate, right? So I'm not really offended, but like, pisses me off a bit during that time.
I'm so sorry.
No,
I'm so sorry.
Don't worry, nanti you bincang belakang lah.
Aku tak belakang je lah.
Oh. Yes. Okay, so how do you're the whip, you are supposed to collect all the points from your opposing team and then your points, kan? So in a time crunch, how do you remain calm, listen to everyone and collect your points? What did you do?
I note down people's points in a paper, right? And then I just tick the ones that I want to rebut, I want to strengthen up, so that I won't feel too nervous when I'm speaking. Like, I'm kind of organized in my note-taking skills.
I see. So, while... Sorry, not COVID. Inshallah. I'm scared. Oh, is it already up?
Oh, let's find out.
Oh my god, is this the official result?
See, she's sad about it. She's biased. I just know it.
I'm not biased.
No, don't be biased.
I'm not biased. This is such a slender and
Wait,
hate crime.
finish interviewing Shara first.
Yeah, I want to interview Shara, then I interrupt. What? I have some respect. Okay, so my last question, kan? I think I'm going. Okay, what course are you from, Shara?
I'm from Law KPTM.
Okay, so what is the difference between mooting and debate for you?
Oh, let's see. Mooting is more formal and strict, whereas debate, you're more free to express your opinions.
So debate is pretty recreational, may I say, for you?
Yeah, and more relaxing, because mooting you have to watch what you say, respect both the opponents and the jury. Whereas debate, it's okay to be a bit sarcastic at times and stand with them.
Yes, we love some sarcastic, yes. So that's why you don't choose mooting, you choose debate instead?
Well, I'm still learning about mooting, so I'm open to new knowledge and experience for mooting. I only did it once for my assessment. It was okay, but I'm still open to new things in mooting, yeah.
Thank you, Shara, for your answer. And now that concludes my Vogue interview with all the debaters. But, such a shame that you did not get to know every debaters before you vote. You just vote like that. But that's okay. I'm not biased. I'm just, telling you that maybe you should have listened to the interview first before you vote.
Bias. I know bias when I see it.
Oh my god, I'm not biased, y'all. You are just envious because you are trying to cut my jobs. I'm trying to be the next moderator for something, Because,
Maybe you can't be moderator no more like this.
oh my god, I can be the adjudicators. Madam, appoint me. I will not be biased. I swear. I'm not biased just because Shami is basically the only science representative on the opposition team. No. Because I relate to him being forced to something, As an example, I want to go to law. Then my mother said, no, that is a force.
Baby, this is not your personal life story.
Oh my god, it's live streaming, right? Oh my god, I just luahkan my perasaan. Sorry, y'all. If y'all can relate to it, I'm sorry that y'all are feeling the same thing I did.
Exposed herself online.
I hope that...
Now everyone watching knows you don't like science stream. You don't like the course you're in right now.
Wait, actually, I like science stream, but some of it. Just some of it. And I cannot name the subject
backlash.
because I'm afraid that my lecturers can see this. So I'm not going to name what subject lah. But I'm having a time of my life. The only life I got. So
That
I
sounds
think...
very sincere coming from you.
Oh, do you mean I mean to lie all the time? Madam, that is so backhanded, That is a backhanded compliment, Now you tell me who's biased.
Okay, are we going to end this?
So, wait, that kind of sound like point for government. So it is already 10:14. Are we going to conclude the vote?
Yes, we are.
Alright, so as your non-biased moderator, I will now announce the result. The winning team for tonight's debate showcase will be, not surprisingly, the government team. Yay! And follow up by the opposition team as well. Yay!
But it was close.
Oh my god, y'all not clapping, y'all be bitter. I'm the only one clapping. See who's biased, who's not. Okay, and I will now crown the best speaker that caught your attention with 43.9% vote goes to Nur Salsabila aka Bella which is your Deputy Prime Minister. Vote Bella for the next.
Thank you.
Oh my god, give a word or two, please, Bella. I'm happy to receive this award.
This is so embarrassing.
It is not embarrassing. It is respect to your fans. I mean, the ones voting you, your friends.
Okay, I'll try to keep it simple. I'd like to thank everyone that saw what was in me when I clearly didn't. Thank you for giving me a chance to debate for today and tell me that I'm worth more than I am. So thank you guys. That's it.
Oh, they said they got your attention. Okay. So I think that's all for tonight's debate showcase. Thank you for attending in the Google Meet and also streaming from YouTube Live. I think that everybody can get something from tonight's debate showcase. I think that I can agree totally non-biased with both the team's arguments. Sometimes it's important to prioritize our happiness, to do something that we like because it will become our main source of motivation. But at the same time, we also need a little reminder, a reality check, and a little constriction, and that is the validity of society. It is to put you in check so that you do not do something wrong in the future. So it needs that little balance in life. Life is not all about black and white. It's a little gray spot in the middle, and that is what I think.
Padam. What?
Alah, she's stuck.
Oh my god, I did not just give an Oscar winning award speech for it to get stuck. Okay, I will repeat, okay? Y'all have to wait. If this take all night, it's not my fault. Okay, so now I will repeat. Okay, so I think that's it for tonight's debate showcase. If it starts again, let me know. I will start again. I think everybody can get something from tonight's debate showcase. I think both teams make compelling arguments. Everybody can agree with them. I think it is important to do something that you are happy with, so that it became your main motivation to do something. But at the same time, while it makes you happy, it might not be the best thing for you. So that is where the society validations kick in. It's a reality check. It's to put you back in place, and sometimes it can also be a good thing even though you don't like it. Okay, maybe like Shahmi, he doesn't like debate, but he was forced into it, and in the end, isn't it a good thing for him? He ended up liking it. So that is an example for society validation, and I think everybody can relate
another
to it.
bias moment.
That is not bias.
Okay.
That is an example coming from real life. Oh my god, y'all be attacking me tonight. I will not be taking disadvantages, disrespect. Okay, so without further ado, I will be ending this debate showcase and will not be accepting any of this disrespect anymore. Thank you.
Thank you, fellow audience and fellow debaters.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for supporting us. Please
And we
support us
apologize
again
for
in
the
our
small
future
delay.
events. Thank you,
Yes.
everybody. Good job.